Hello there. Welcome to the full moon in Pisces. I'm not sure if you can hear this construction outside my place or not, but it should be over soon. And if not, I will go shut the door. Maybe you feel like your life's under construction too. Renovations. This is actually a flood wall that they're building. We had two floods, 2017 and 2019. And now it's like 5 years later, and finally it's getting built and protected. So, necessary noise. Sorry about that. So, full moon in Pisces is upon us. And we're going to take a look at the chart as usual. And there's always similar themes and dichotomies that play out when you're in full moon times, at different times of year. And of course, they play out twice because the moon is full in Pisces right now while the sun's in Virgo. And while the full moon is in Virgo, the sun will be in Pisces 6 months from now. So we sort of have these similar push and pulls of themes that we're thinking about emphasized, twice a year when it comes to the full moon. And for me, Virgo and Pisces, the struggle is always between serving and saving, victim and savior kind of dynamics. So both have a different way, of wanting to help or rescue or save, or want to be the one who's the victim or save this, the savior or the saved. Pisces is going to be more typically, or a moon in Pisces, since it's the full moon. The best expression of the moon in Pisces person is someone extremely intuitive. And I've definitely met many people who have that as their placement in their birth chart, who are extremely psychic and accepting. They just read people very quickly and they go, oh, well, that's just how they are. So they just accept them and don't expect them to be anything otherwise. Other expressions of Pisces, whether it's sun or moon, are going to be more, wanting to escape cold, hard reality. So it all depends how much difficulty that person has with confronting certain realities or the mundane or the material world. How far do they go into the escapist tendency? And people can escape with anything. Too much work, too much sleep, drugs and alcohol, video games, pornography, you name it. People can escape even further, like a further extreme would be to really dissociate or have, a distorted mental condition. That would be somebody who, in the very extreme can't confront what's going on realistically in their lives or around them. Can't cope with what's going on. So whereas Virgo is itemizing everything, they're naming things, they're analyzing things, they're categorizing things. And that's how they are going to help, but also how they're going to cope. So if I make a list, if I name this, if I know why, if I can figure out, oh, that's what this is, those are the steps I can take. This is the info that I can research about that. So Virgo will get into helping others or serving or servitude, depends on the Virgo, based on sort of trying to analyze and perfect everything. And then if they can just get to the last detail of something accurately, then the solutions will come. Then you will be free. You'll be liberated. You'll be helped. Things will get better. And so you can see how both are very different approaches, maybe to the same thing. You know, somebody might receive, I don't know, some news that means they're going to have to make some big changes soon. So Pisces and the good side of a Pisces moon, they're going to tap into their intuition. They're going to feel the energy around it. They're going to get an idea of, like, very quickly of, that's the situation, so that's what I'm going to do. And it might just come very easily and organically without breaking their head. That's in the good side. Virgo in the good side, when faced with news of like big change, okay, they're going to understand all the little things that are going to have to be done and what it means, itemized in detail, and they're going to start tackling it. The downside, let's say, or the difficult side of a Pisces moon, if you're faced with news about big change that you don't have much control over, they're going to just space out, avoid dealing with it, avoid phone calls or emails, avoid looking at solutions, and escape into whatever, you know, addiction of choice to cope. So it's not really solving it, it's coping. And that's one thing people do. And then Virgo, if they're in sort of their, you know, not so good side, when faced with changes that they can't control, they can get completely anxious, and obsessive and neurotic about it. So the same mind that would go, okay, this is changing. This is what we know. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. This is our time frames. No. Instead, it would be like, you know, with like a million different ideas and worst case scenarios and planning for the worst case scenarios. And that's how that's the harder side of how Virgo would cope with change or news they can't control. So I'm bringing this up because, you know, I'm seeing a lot of that in people's lives around me, which could be just me and who I end up seeing because of my line of work or my friends. But I think we're in a time of enormous change and uncertainty, and whether that's environmental, whether that's economic, whether like I feel like everybody's just sort of dangling, and it's very hard then to sort of know, well, what are things going to look like even a few months from now? I don't think any of us could really say. We've had so many surprises hit us ever since COVID. There's been something that could come along and just change things quite quickly, right? We're all living with this feeling somewhere of like a shoe that might drop, whether it's because of COVID, because of rules, because of changes in what's going on in any political changes, new political leaderships, new you know, new developments in vaccines, rules. There's just so many things up in the air and changing right now, or that could change quickly, right? Elections coming up too in the US and here in Quebec. So, you know, are we going through more change than we ever used to, or are we just more aware of how much life can change? It's hard to say. But what I can say is that I think for a lot of us, we're facing uncertainties and more aware of uncertainties perhaps than we were previous to the pandemic. Even if that was an illusion of security, or that we could plan on, oh, well, that's the way it is, so therefore I can make my plans, or that's what I'll do about it. Now you get this feeling for a while now that, well, I can make my plans, but something might just, it could work great, or something could just eclipse it suddenly. We don't know. You get that feeling. So just bringing up these ranges of how to deal with change and unexpected change and news and things, you know, whether you can control them or not. Virgo and Pisces are both very adaptable and mutable signs, and they will be very adaptable. So let's just think about how you can use the good side of the adaptability, and the coping mechanisms are minimized, and it's more bringing out the good side. Of course, I'm Virgo rising myself, so I have that planner side of me, but I have also found that it gets in my way if I go too much into that, and I err more on that Pisces side of intuition whenever we can. Because very often your gut feeling, or your first feeling, your overall feeling of the energy or of what you need to do is often right. And it can fly in the face of the details and the lists. It can transcend it. So see which one you feel most comfortable with during this full moon period. Let's take a look at the chart now. All right. So as usual, you know, the chart, I cast it for New York, for the Eastern time zone. So the ascendant of Virgo makes sense if you're in the Eastern time zone. And even if it's a little bit like possibly 1 hour, like Central time, or an hour later, Pacific, Atlantic time, it could also still probably be a Virgo ascendant. So Sun is in Virgo. Virgo is the rising sign. And as you can see, we've got Venus just scooching here. Venus is in Virgo too, and it's right near the ascendant as well. So there is like a really strong emphasis on the earthy, practical, sort of like an accountant type energy, an efficiency expert. Somebody's going to come in and organize and clean things, packing things, writing things down. This is a real, you know, back to school energy kind of feeling. We all know that, whether you're in school or not, doesn't matter. There's that back to school energy is like, okay, summer's done. Calm yourself down. Let's get back to something practical with a fresh mind. Let's make it all really clean and perfect and organized. Yeah. That's what Venus and the Sun in Virgo would want, and the rising sign, and they want it to all look perfect too. And then we have, of course, over here, our moon is in Pisces, and then it's connecting to Neptune. So that's our first and primary opposition right there. Sun and moon are always opposite during a full moon. So this is why you get this pull, this intensity in a full moon. Two strong bodies that rule that affect our planet, pulled in different directions, asking for different things. This is why full moons are intense, no matter what the signs. So, as I said, the moon in Pisces is very intuitive, very psychic, if you allow it to be. Otherwise, it is very escapist. So really look at that in yourself right now. If something seems tough to confront or face, try your best, instead of freaking out or running to the sugar or the drinks or whatever you do, try your best to sit and say, what energy am I getting from this? What's my gut saying about this? You know, and try to tune in on that level first to whatever's going on. Because if you get a direct experience of your gut feeling on something, it will often help you calm down this enormous urgency to escape, or this hamster wheel of, like, you know, over analyzing, overthinking, which is hard for all of us. but especially during all these Virgo planets. Now, when it's connected to Neptune like this, Neptune adds either a glow, a glamour, a magic, or it adds smoke and mirrors and fog and illusion. And Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So it's really strong Piscean pull in the chart as well. Now, the moon and Neptune together in Pisces, I would expect to be somebody with extremes of what I just mentioned. This could be somebody who has an ecstatic vision, a spiritual awakening, somebody who definitely has strong abilities. Neptune would add to the normal moon in Pisces gut feeling thing. It would be even more, because Neptune will help that intuition pick up on the really subtle, unseen, unsaid things. The smoke and mirrors, the nuage, the clouds. It's like reading psychic messages in the clouds and people seeing, faces or animals appear, and they see other things that a lot of other people might not see. And therefore, sometimes it's difficult because if you want to share that, people might not be conscious of it, so they don't see it and they can't validate it. But you have to trust yourself that if you get a strong gut feeling about something or a strong vision of something, and you know that you weren't trying to crave this answer, or you weren't trying to orchestrate something, it just comes to you. You've got to really do your best to write it down and trust it, because Neptune and the moon could bring very strong psychic experiences. It can also, because it's in Pisces, bring you very strong feelings of togetherness, oneness, bonding. That could be with other people, or that could also just be to the greater whole, or the planet, or to nature, to animals. There's a very strong feeling of we're all one when it comes to Pisces, with the moon and Neptune there. Now, because Neptune can either bring out something actually beautiful and magical and true, exceptional, it also, it's very easy for it to be an illusion or to deceive ourselves, because Neptune wants something to be special, magical, and glamorous too. You have to be really careful that you're not creating or making something happen just because you want it to be so. So we're really asked during this full moon to be really honest with yourself about those intuitions and dreams and visions and flashes and feelings of like, oh, we're so together, we're so interconnected. You might be, but you might also just want it to be. And I bring this up because it's happening in our house of relationships, Moon Neptune. It's in the house, the seventh house, which is usually partnerships, marriages, but also open enemies. People go, oh, open enemies. Oh my God. Now, with Moon and Neptune in the seventh house of marriage and relations, this is, again, a tricky thing. Could you meet and bond with a soulmate under that influence? Definitely. Definitely. Could you also be glamorizing a relationship and the person is a complete fraud or a narcissist or something and you don't see it? Yes. Unfortunately, yes. So you got to be really, really, really honest with your gut feelings about things. Now, this is really tricky terrain, but I will tell you, when you know yourself enough to say, I know when I'm in that mood where I'm honest with myself, I know what that vibe feels like in my body, in my emotion, and I know what it feels like when I'm craving something and I just want it badly, but it's not really quite what's happening. This takes enormous self-awareness, doesn't it? And self-honesty. But this is what we're going to have to do if you have any kind of heightened experience during the full moon, whether that's with another person or a group, whether that's a spiritual experience, whether that's a vision. You're going to have to be extra honest with yourself. You know, we all have things we desire and want to happen, want to be so. We have to be really careful to be honest when is it truly that thing we've been wanting? Or was I craving it? Was I just wanting it to be that way? And to be really, really honest with that. I'll stop saying those words over and over again now, but this is a really big theme of this full moon. Other people, of course, are going to err on the side of all the Virgo. I don't trust this. I'm not sure about this. I'm going to be skeptical. We're just going to stay really practical about all of this and they're going to start to overanalyze that experience or that bond, which could protect you if there's an escapist or deceptive element to the moon Neptune. It could, that's exactly what will protect you, is that Virgo energy of keeping a step back and analyzing it practically. However, if there is something genuinely wonderful and bonding and emotional and transcendent going on, and someone says, I'm not sure about that. Do you think that's really practical right now? People are going to go, get lost. You know that you're killing the vibe. You're poisoning the magic here. Stop it. So there's that potential too. Whenever you see Virgo and Pisces opposed in a chart, this is what's going on. This is what's going on at the core. So let's take a look now at some of the other aspects that it's making, because it's making some nice ones. You see how many blue lines we have? Yes, we have lots of red, but we have lots of nice blue, which means our harmonious aspects. So let's talk about Mercury now, because Mercury has just gone retrograde. It goes retrograde on the 9th, the day before the full moon. And I'm going to shut this door because there's steel grinding steel out there. All right, it's slightly better. Okay. So Mercury's in Libra, which makes the energy of it a little bit lighter, because this is more someone who communicates with beautiful words, diplomacy, tries to be impartial, does its best to be fair, more detached. So, you know, a little more of a negotiator, or sometimes a little more maybe of an artist or a poet. But it doesn't have that cold, hard, practical feeling that it could have had in Virgo had it been there. So it's a bit of a respite, you know, that Mercury, even though it's retrograde, it's in Libra. People want to speak nicely right now. They want to speak more diplomatically and carefully, perhaps. It's not a bad thing. Now, Mercury has just gone retrograde, and it'll be there until October 2nd. So our typical advice, you know, of being careful what you say and to who, and be careful what you sign or sign up for, you know, read the fine print and yada, yada. With Venus and the Sun in Virgo, it might be a little easier to read the fine print. You might not need to worry so much about that, but But do be careful if you're learning anything new or you're signing anything that's really major, that you want to really make sure you understand it before you pay for it or sign up. But Mercury retrograde is, usually a little more of an internal, reflective kind of time. Your mind might seem to slow down a little. People can be a little more like in their head, so they're not as on. They might miss a detail. They might say something. Worst case scenario, somebody blurts something out they didn't mean to say. Otherwise, maybe, you fumble for a word, you fumble for stuff like that. In Libra, it shouldn't be too bad that way. Sometimes technology also will slow down, give us problems depending on that particular retrograde cycle. I've already seen it happening with the computer, but we have many retrograde planets right now. So it means things are sort of slowing down and people turning more inward, and you get a chance to process how fast everything was moving over the last few months. So again, not such a bad thing. Mercury is opposing Jupiter and Chiron over here in Aries. So again, oppositional signs, what's that do? Well, Libra wants to please and include and balance different parties out so that there's a common ground, a common meeting place that is a collective thing so that everybody can feel good with it. Aries is, like the self, me and my pioneering warrior self, my desires, my, huge initiative and risk-taking spirit that will get things moved forward and done. But it's about that person. It's not about a collective. It's not supposed to be. So there's opposition there with Mercury opposing Jupiter and Chiron. So what's that mean? Well, for Libras or people inclined to be doing diplomacy and peacemaking and negotiations right now, there'll be some resistance to it. Won't be easy to get agreements when Mercury is retrograde and opposing stuff in Aries. So, however, Mercury is making a good aspect to Mars and Gemini, so there'll be lots of talking about it. Lots and lots and lots of talking. Lots of ideas put on the table, because Gemini will just brainstorm until the cows come home. There'll be 50 ideas, they'll add 51, So Mars and Gemini, happy to keep talking and adding one more thing and one more detail and one more maybe. Mercury and Libra, wishing that people could just sort of settle down and get along and arrive at something that everyone is happy with, so they can just relax, so that there won't be any conflicts. And Jupiter and Chiron going, I have a right to do what I want. How come nobody's letting me do what I want? No, I'm gonna do this because that's what I need, and it's about me. Yikes. So there could be some, difficult patches with people and negotiations right now during this full moon. And there could be a need to settle down that Gemini energy a little bit of too many ideas and too many people involved when Mars is there. However, Mars is also making a nice trine to Saturn over here. So Saturn is it's air signs. Again, it's a lot of ideas, a lot of talking, but Saturn's going to calm it down. And it's not a square. It's not opposing it. It's not a fight. It's just going to ground it. It's just going to say, great ideas, Gemini. I wonder if we can sort of fix in on this one, or I wonder about the viability of that one. It's just going to it's going to try to anchor it. It's going to try to root it into, Saturn in Aquarius' own sort of agenda, take Mars's ideas and go, oh, I like those things. that fits my agenda. So let's try to ground those ideas because that also fits my purpose. So you can see where this is going. And then little Mercury and Libra over there, like hoping we can all just sort of get along if we just talk about it enough. But these other forces are stronger. And it'll be just frustrating if you're that mediator right now. Now, Venus is squaring that Mars, so is the Sun. So again, even though Mars is in Gemini with support to just keep you talking and talking and thinking and spreading news and adding another person to the team and adding other ideas to the roster, there's, Saturn is trying to squeeze him down a little, and Venus and the Sun are like, dude, that's not practical. Dude, that's enough. No, no, no. We said 3, not 7. So you might be feeling this sort of, depends which one you relate to. If you're the ideas person, the expansive one, the brainstormer, you will feel clamped during this full moon. Also, Moon and Neptune are squaring that Mars as well. See here? If you've got Gemini planets or you have your Mars there, or you are a Gemini around that 11-degree mark, or maybe you've got your Venus in Gemini or something that, that side of you that wants to be like kid in a candy store. This is fun. Hey, so-and-so, hey, so-and-so. Oh yeah, you two should work together, right? I'll call them. No, I know somebody. And then, and adding people and ideas and excited, you are going to feel clamped and muzzled and blocked. You are getting the message of like, calm down right now. Because these other planets are saying, that's not what the energy is right now. That's not what we need. And even the ones that support it, Mercury is going to support it by talking about it with you forever. Nothing gets done though. Saturn is going to go, I like some of it, but we'll do sort of what I'm thinking. And then you've got, this Jupiter, Chiron, and Aries, where you're going to have some bull in the china shop in there somewhere that you can't rein in. So this is an interesting chart now, isn't it? So where does the energy work well? Well, take a look at our harmonious lines. We've got a nice grand trine here. We've got the Sun, Uranus, North Node, and Pluto, all in Earth, all trine. This is the most harmonious one because it's a trine, it's the strongest. Sort of think about 3 team players working for the same thing. All in Earth, meaning down to earth, practical matters, finances, property, physical body, going outside, slowing things down, getting things done that need to be done, foundational stuff. So it's not a time really of poor Gemini, Gemini Mars. It's not a time of wahoo, let's live in our head some more. Let's live in our head some more. No, it's saying, no, step away from the many ideas. Now let's get some of it done. Let's do it. Not just think about it or talk about it with people. Let's do it. All the Earth planets are saying that. And so if you're in that mindset, you can get a lot of stuff done right now on a very material level, I know myself and other people are like downsizing a lot of stuff and moving things around, packing, shifting. That's a very earthy thing to do, right? If I sit there and I make 1,000,001 floor plans or lists about how I'm going to organize the stuff, but I don't actually do it, now I'm in the Libra and Gemini side, just ideas and thinking, you know? But if I actually implement it and I pack a box and I bring it over, or I clean a shelf, well, now I'm in the earth side. And this is what we need to do. And also fall tends to require us to kick into gear and prepare for fall, whether that's harvest, whether that's preparing your home, whether that's shifting over closets, whatever have you, whether that's getting the kiddos, you know, organized and getting the supplies, getting what they need on a practical level. It's a very earthy aspect. That's where you're going to find the best success right now, is like stick to your tasks, stick to your routines, and follow them through, and try to ride out some of the emotion that's going to come up from these potential, you know, visions or ecstatic moments or bonding or whoo, wow, overwhelm, crush kind of energy, or even if it's like love of your life for real energy. Just stay grounded right now, folks. Really try to stay grounded. Now, the other thing that we can take a look at here too, that's being supported, is the North Node and South Node. There's the North by Uranus up here. There's the South in Scorpio. These both have positive lines over with Sun, Moon, Moon, Neptune, and with the Sun. So the nodes are, you know, these big guiding directions that everyone is going in. It's a very collective energy. What direction are we all going in? So if you want to support going forward, the forward direction, not the South Node, which is the direction that things came from, that we're trying to go towards. So I hope this is making sense. But where the energy is emphasized with the South Node, so like old stuff, got to move away from, that is the one that's linking with the Moon and Neptune. So that would be somebody who's, well, could be very escapist, be very, very intensely emotional, ecstatic and transformational experiences that just lead you further and further and further into more and more emotion, and deeper into your psyche you go, you know, deeper into the fog, into the rabbit hole, into the matrix, whatever you want to say. And so the South Node in Scorpio is like constantly in upheaval and constantly willing to like take one more layer and go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it never ends, and it can create illness if you don't take time to ground it in and do practical things. If you don't take time to integrate this knowledge or this information, you'll start to spin out, you know, you can lose yourself, you can have a psychosis even with something like that if it goes far enough, especially with the Moon and Neptune. So again, we want to just honor those experiences if you have them, but try to just take a little breathing room and take a look at them and really get clear that whatever it is that's coming up, that you can trust it, and that you're not sort of taking yourself deeper into like the recesses of your psyche in a way that doesn't bring you peace, doesn't bring you greater understanding, just adds more murkiness to the mind, you know. Where it is supportive of the North Node in Taurus, it's a sextile with that. So the stronger one is the trine. And there you've got the Sun supporting the North Node in Taurus, and Uranus is still dragging us towards the North Node as well. And that, as we've said in every video, I think every video, you got to find a new normal, we're looking for a new structure in our lives, and in our society. New ways of doing anything that is Taurus-like, which includes finances, includes, well, it's our values under, basically. It's a huge shift in values, going to a new future and looking for what would be a new normal in terms of society's values, that you can think about it for yourself. What are my values going forward for the long haul? How am I shifting my values of what's worth what means what to me? What am I willing to work for? What's my work worth? What's my body saying to me? What's it worth? All kinds of issues around restructuring our lives are essentially because there's a challenge to our core values and trying to find a new sense of stability going forward. And we're still in it with Uranus because it's only at 18 degrees. It's just over halfway through. It doesn't leave until 2025. We're halfway through this process. You know, the North Node's going to stick around in Taurus a while longer too. It's halfway through. So we're in an enormous process of huge change. And what supports it here is this trine. Pluto in Capricorn, super productive. Let's get her done. Let's, show some leadership. Sun in Virgo. Venus isn't making the trine, but it's still there to help us out. Staying grounded, trying to be a little more down to earth and simplifying your life as you simplify and connect to what are your true values, and making plans and putting in support actions and structures that help those values come about. For example, if I make a switch and I say, you know what, I value community now more than I value certain hobby that I was spending all my time on. That's an enormous shift of focus, right? Because maybe that hobby means you're renting space for it, or you've got extra room in your home for it. You've got equipment, you're staying home a lot. You're creating a little cocoon so you can do it. And it's more solitary, perhaps. Then if you shift your values and you say, you know what, community is really more important to me right now. Oh my Lord, that completely changes it. Now you're going out the door, you're meeting people, you're volunteering for things, or you're hired, or you're joining things. You're going to spend your focus on who you get to know, trying to get a pulse of what's going on in your community and the people around it, and trying to assess their needs, seeing where you fit in. Completely different, right? Because there's a value shift. And so I think, overall, this is a big theme of this moon, of this full moon, is trying to get through and cope with and make sense of any values shifting in your life and how you can support that. For me, I've made a value shift in the last while where I want to have more simplicity in my living environment. I don't want to have as much stuff, as much clutter, even if I loved my clutter, and I do, but I want to come in and feel like my environment makes sense and it's very simple and easy to take care of. And therefore I want to have my mind free for other things. And so for that one, the way I would support it with those other planets, with the Earth, is to physically actually think about and visualize, where would I want to live? What does that simple look like? What stuff supports that lifestyle? What stuff gets in the way of it? And start to add those things you need, literally buy them or find them, and literally sell or donate the ones that you don't, and physically transform the environment to be simpler. That would be a way. That's how you would, with Earth planets, support the values change. Whereas over here, if you look at Mercury retrograde and Mars in Gemini, they'll just talk about it. They might have some great ideas about it. They might have read some great books on the subject. They might know 15 videos on how to do it. But are they actually doing it, or are they just thinking about it? And this moon is really emphasizing, get her done. Get her done. So let's take a look at our tarot for this full moon. All right. I definitely think we need some sage, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, I could see it a bit. All right. Just try to imagine that this sage is all around you as well. If you have some, it can be great. You can go get it and burn some after this if you want to cleanse. I like to use the sage, or you can use, juniper or cedar, rosemary if you really feel you need a good cleanse. It can be a great time if you're trying to get a lot of things done, or shift your energy, or get rid of stuff, or whatever you're working on. I believe for sure that smudging can help clear things and help you facilitate the process. It can show you, when you smudge, it can show you where the energy is flowing and where the energy is blocked, and it might help you make some decisions that help get things rolling. So let's take a look at our tarot for this full moon. So our first card here is the Fool, which is wonderful. Breath of fresh air. You need a vision for what you want to achieve. You need to have some clarity of what you want before things will happen. The Fool that doesn't have a clear idea or picture of what they're going for is the Fool that will just sort of walk off that cliff, like in other cards. The Fool that has been there, done that, and has a vision and a dream, even if they know that it won't turn out exactly as they see it, but they've got a guiding vision or dream of what they want. That is the one that will manifest it. The Prince of Swords. So, as you probably know, when we pull this card, we don't like this guy usually. Could be a girl too, but it's a person who's like really clever and talking in circles. And when you've got all these air sign planets trining, you might just be weary or aware of anyone who's talking too good to be true, anyone who's speaking too quickly or cuts you off or talks over you when you're trying to get to the bottom of something, whether that's something you're going to buy or whether that's your doctor. I don't care. Fast talking, cleverness, lack of empathy, not listening. Just be on the alert for that guy. Eight of Pentacles. So another very earthy card that's a Virgo card. Again, slow and steady growth. This is a plant that has, deep roots, and it's been well tended. That's why it's symmetrical, and it's got, beautiful flowers, because it's well grown, it's well balanced, and it's slow. And being practical and slow and methodical is a perfect way to piss off that kind of person who's the fast talker. They absolutely hate that. They got no patience for it. So it's a good indication of, you know, who's being real with you and who's not. It's just like slow things down and get a little more practical and see how they are after that. Now we've got a grief card here. I don't know what to say about that because I do know personally some people who have lost people in the last week. There's also tragedies on the news all the time. So we can't really pinpoint one thing. But so I will just say generally, it might be a time when you are also encountering or dealing with your own grief, or it might be wise to just give yourself room to grieve things. Anytime, you know, you make a change, even when it's an exciting change, there's still grieving. You know, there's still grieving an old life, even if the new one is exciting or better. You know, there's always a need to honor those feelings of sadness at what is ending, or what, you know, or honoring the losses that you feel and letting yourself rest or be quiet, or maybe you need to talk it out with somebody, but just honor that and don't suppress it. That suppressing that kind of level of emotion makes us all ill. So give yourself room to feel that if that comes up. And we've got the Chariot, so we're back to like major arcana card, and the Chariot is about obstacles and rallying different obstacles and sort of trying to get different sides of things or different people to work in tandem, but it's usually like with a lot of effort and sometimes force with the Chariot. It's can be a frustrating card. It's very apropos for, like, even though it's a Cancer card, it's very apropos for Mercury retrograde in Libra, as we mentioned, many people at the table, and lots of talking, and a need to sort of bring people back to something practical if you want people to work all together. So, not sure that that obstacle is necessarily about groups or work. Sometimes this is inner obstacles too. But we'll take a look at what that obstacle might be with the next card. So we've got the Princess of Swords too. So she's also not an easy character to deal with, because she's very smart, but she's very know-it-all-ish, very competitive. She can be oppositional. She can be feisty. You know, she can be very bold and risk-taking, sometimes too much, but a bit of a rebel, bit of a renegade. But often she's just someone who comes up who's like, makes her own life harder with her own drama. So, you know, when we've got the grief card, obstacle card, and her, plus this fast talking guy, I'm not sure what your vision is or what you're trying to accomplish or get done, but it still sort of shows like, be very calm and practical, and slow and steady wins the race, because you've got people around, or energies around, that are very impatient and impulsive, and they might make it hard. They might make it seem harder for things to roll. But I do feel that if you've got the right structure and patience, you will prevail in whatever you're trying to do. Then we've got our Priestess card, so intuition card. It's very nice. We already said to trust your gut extra this full moon. So this is just, again, asking you to go back to your spiritual practices, go go sit and meditate or go for a walk in the woods or whatever it is that brings you a sense of that deeper connection to yourself, where you're going to trust your gut so that you can listen. It also would say that, you know, intuitively might be the way you find a solution as to what you need to do to go forward. We've got the Eight of Cups. Usually the Eight of Cups shows a man walking away from everything, just giving up. And this card always looks pretty bleak. You know, the water's black, the cups are empty, pretty much. So there could be a desire to just drop something, let it go, or walk away from it. Some of you might be ready to walk away from a project or walk away from a relationship that's not working. We'll see if the obstacles and the oppositions are great enough. You might be tempted to do that. Your gut feeling might tell you to do that. But it'll be a strong pull, like whether you should just abandon ship or stick with something. So let's see. We end up on the Ten of Wands, the oppression card. So it looks to me like your gut feeling would probably lead you towards walking away or letting go of these, you know, rebellious or oppositional or elements or people in and around the situation. It looks like it will not be workable with them there. Let me just pull one more for a bit of resolution. And we've got the Princess of Discs. So even though she's a princess, she's very grounded. So she's more mature than the other two. Again, it's calling you back to, you know, down to earth. She's holding her disc. She's holding her wand. She's surrounded by trees. She's got a cloak. She's protected. She's fertile. She's looking, you know, she looks like she's got a vision, but she's looking to the earth. So this says a lot to me about, you know, again, maintain as best you can your sense of your values and your routines. And if you keep things on a grounded level, you will avoid whatever dramas are in the air. Very interesting. So we're going to do messages now for each sign. And let's see, what should it be? It should either be about values or being grounded somehow. Let's look at the values. That's an interesting question because we keep talking about the North Node and Uranus and Taurus as like bigger picture. So let's take a look at bigger picture. So we will ask, in what way are your values shifting? In what way are your values shifting, or what values would represent you or help you best going forward? Something like that. I feel like my webcam is like a little fuzzy. I hope it isn't anyway. All right. Just going to spread them out in front of me here. And Aries, will look at you first, as usual. So Aries, how can you, what's the message for you about your values? How are your values shifting right now? Aries. All right, you've got the Queen of Cups. So this would suggest that your values might be shifting towards having more intimacy in your relationships, particularly with women. You might need or bring out a side of you that is showing more emotion in terms of like nurturing or compassion or empathy for people. You might also be, because she's got animals there, you might also be even extending it to taking care of animals or pets. more so than before, or just keeping an eye out, having compassion for the small, whether that's, you know, little spider, or whether that's a cat on the side of the road, or whether it's keeping an eye on other people's kids. Just yeah, you're needing this quality probably to receive it, but you're also maybe looking at how you can offer that more. So that's a big transformation in your relationships as to who you would be looking for and bonding with. Taurus, since you know the spotlight is on you with Uranus there, how are your values shifting? You've got the moon. Well, to me, this would say that you're probably looking into things a little deeper than you ever have during this transit, because Uranus has been like a wrecking ball, causing a lot of upheaval and surprises to your life, to your security, on many fronts. And so you're probably looking at, like, the moon card, you're probably more and more aware, or diving deeper into your psyche, or understanding other people's motivations and hidden motivations, hidden emotions, hidden traumas, hidden agendas. And you might be more emotional yourself. You might find that these experiences are sort of cracking you open, and you're seeing more gray zones and more emotional or psychological terrain than you're used to in yourself and in other people. So even though it's a difficult transition, it's still a positive transformation. It's just a difficult one to go through when it's the moon, because you can easily feel overwhelmed or shut down, or you know, enlightened or deceived. It can be either or with the moon, but something is like cracking your psyche open, and that shifts your values profoundly. We won't know really what that's going to look like for you until the transit is probably pretty much completed for you. So if you're born at the first half of Taurus, you've had it, you know, you're probably digesting things. If you're born in the second half of Taurus, it's still on its way. All right, Gemini, how are your values shifting? And you've got the Knight of Discs, the most grounded, earthy person there is. So very likely you're also thinking a lot about being a provider in some way to others, being like the person they come to, being the rock, being that reliable one. That's a huge shift for Gemini, if you like your freedom, to really apply yourself to thinking about, you know, like your consistency and your reliability. Maybe you're looking for that from others more as well. Also, I'm hearing loyalty is a big thing with you right now, that maybe you're shifting your loyalties, or your values around what is loyalty, which is a huge topic, right? Huge question to ask yourself. But because the king here, or the Knight of Pentacles, be very loyal, very steadfast, unquestioning. You know, he commits. So you might be just visiting a lot of your values around commitments as well. Now, Cancers, what's going on with your values? Wow, fires on flames. Cancer is a water sign, very self-protective, and this flame is like, okay, well, Cancer, you're getting angry. You're letting your passion out. You're getting more active. You're not willing to sit and sponge everything up for everybody, or to be a sponge anymore. The fire is like coming in to clean things out, clear the decks. There's not a lot of room for a lot of mulling over and emotion. This is very much like fire is like strong will, passion, action, go for it. And you're also probably thinking more about yourself for a change, which might be a big value shift as well. Like not just saying, yeah, I should really put myself first. Yeah, I know. No, do it. You're doing it. You're doing it. So this makes me feel good for Cancers. Act quicker. Don't worry so much about what everybody's feeling about it. You've done that. You've done that. You know, doesn't mean be a jerk. It just means like honor yourself. You want to go do something, go do it. Don't stop meandering and questioning and getting so emotional about it all. Just please, you know, let that flame just ignite something. So it's definitely values are shifting around your sense of your will, your that essential drive, you know, to get things done and sustain it, to act, to overcome and light the flame. So that's a pretty cool one. Leos, how are your values shifting? Well, you've got a Leo card right there. Very, yeah. Only thing I'd say is you seem pretty comfortable with yourself, actually. Not a lot of questioning going on about that. More, I would say you're wondering how to like bring yourself out of your shell, bring yourself out into the world a little more. Maybe questioning like your or bringing out more of your self-confidence, showing what you can do, not being as shy if you have been. A lot of Leos aren't, but some do hold back. So I suppose when it's a values question, you might be asking yourself, well, how can I sort of be more confident or shine without being like, you know, vain or turning into a narcissist, heaven forbid, because we're all so sensitive to that. So how can you be more bold and confident without seeming arrogant? You know, maybe you're wondering about that. How do I do that? It's a good question to ask yourself. But definitely go out and shine more. Definitely be a little more bold and confident. We need that. All right, Virgos. All right, you've got the Hermit. Well, your values would all be about, you know, the Hermit's already in a deep questioning. Hermit's already deeply reflecting and withdrawing from society to, you know, to think about the deeper things in life, looking for enlightenment. So if you are in the middle of questioning, maybe something about the meaning of life, you know, maybe you're really going existential. Maybe that's your values. What's the meaning of all of this, of everything? Why am I here? What am I doing? You could be going that deeply. Otherwise, I would say it'd be more questioning your values around solitude because it's the Hermit. You could be questioning your, you know, the Hermit would also have spiritual practices and rituals. So you might be visiting that and asking, like, what's really important to me? What rituals, what things do I do or read or say or think or wear or whatever bring me a sense of being connected to my spiritual path? But you're doing a lot of introspection and you're getting a lot of insights. So keep going with it. It feels very positive that you've already begun that process. All right, Libras, what are you questioning with your values? All right, you've got the King of Wands or the Knight of Wands. So you're also, this is another very strong-willed and dynamic masculine energy. He just dives in, he just goes for it. He doesn't ask. He's just capable and rushes in and, drags people from a burning building, or he's the CEO. This is a strong, dominant male. He can be very passionate and creative too. So how would that play in with questioning your values? Well, you could be questioning your values or your expectations around men. And if you're a man, you might still be questioning that. And otherwise, again, it would speak to sort of like the Cancer one, speaks to your sense of your strong will. How much energy do you have to tackle life? How tough-minded are you? How can you find that will to keep going and maintain your lifestyle or your routines, even in the face of something difficult? That fire inside that says, it's hard right now, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it through. I'm going to finish this. It's like a runner who starts running and then they go, I don't know, why am I running? I don't know. And they just stop running. No, they don't do that. They're in the race. They decided to run. They finished the race. So it's like, what mindset is needed to finish the race? Whatever your race is, whatever you're getting, whatever you're trying to overcome. So this is about shifting your thoughts to whatever gives you the will that you need. Scorpios. Seven of Discs, the failure card. Lots of questioning of yourself. This tells me maybe some of you are feeling like you failed. I doubt you have. But many of you might be feeling that way. You might be very hard on yourself. Ironically, this card is Saturn and Taurus, which is exactly that lesson of what is worth what. What are my values? That's exactly the card that means that. And so you've probably been questioning your values on a deep level in general, but I would say a lot of it would be, around what is success and what is failure really. So you're reframing your life. You might be thinking of old experiences. You might be making some peace or closure with some past relationship or project. And hopefully you can reframe it so that if you thought, oh, well, I failed, or it was my fault that ended, or something like that, hopefully you're reframing that and seeing it in a different light. And otherwise, the big question is more probably like, what's worth what? Is this thing worth it to me? Is that, relationship, despite the hardships, worth it? Is this, I don't know, house, despite how tight it is financially, worth it? All kinds of questions around what things are worth what to you. So you're in quite a profound exploration, as we would expect. Just like I said, with the South Node in your sign and Neptune and the moon supporting it, try not to go too far down the well here with more and more and more and more questions that bring you less and less and less peace. So, feels like you're walking sort of through a dark woods right now. And I hope that you're starting to see there's some light that you're walking towards. All right, Sagittarius. Universe. So what you would likely be questioning is quite on a grand scale here, like sort of like what's possible, what's possible to achieve. The world is such a big card. You know, it's the summation of all the cards. It's where everything, all the knowledge, all the people, all the lessons have been passed and they culminate. And then you're at this huge evaluation of a life chapter. And you're probably wondering, you know, did I achieve what I've set out to do? Or is it possible to achieve what I still want? What would bring your life to, you know, that fruition, that closure of a grand chapter? It's many, many things at once when it's a big life chapter. It's not just one aspect. Trying to think of a good example. Oh, well, maybe you've been working in a certain field, you've gotten to know lots of people, you've put a lot of time and energy into those subjects and that company or the people involved or all of the above. You became part of a life, part of a community, part of a whole world around whatever that was. And now maybe you want to move on from it or it's ending. And so that's the universe card. It's not just the job. It's a huge chapter you devoted yourself to with all kinds of threads and people and relationships and, you know, goals and things to evaluate. And so your values are probably just coming into question as to how you evaluate that and whether you accomplished what you wanted or whether it's actually over. And then you'll begin again with the next chapter. Interesting. Capricorns. So that's nice. You've got the abundance card. Well, that's very interesting for Capricorn too. You might be evaluating your values as to what is abundance? What does that look like really? What is enough? That's a very profound question, really, when it comes to Capricorn and when we think about maybe not individual Capricorns as much, but when we think about it as, you know, governments and corporations and getting bigger and bigger, richer and richer. What's enough? When is it abundant? When is it enough? You know? And if it's individuals, well, you might be also like questioning, well, what do I need to really be happy and content and feel like I have abundance, that I'm secure, that I'm enjoying, that I'm living life, not just chasing after more and more and more, or feeling empty or like I'm coming up short. So this is a very deep question to ask yourself and visualize, like, you know, what does abundance look like to you? Everybody might have a different idea, and you know, it doesn't mean it's some celebrity home is not necessarily abundance. To me, that's excess. That's me though. It's excess, that's lavish. You know, abundance to me is when you feel secure enough that you can meet most of your needs and take care of the people around you. You know, do I have enough food to invite people over for dinner? Do I have, you know, enough? Am I fine to pay all my bills and keep things tidy and keep myself healthy? You know, can I take care of if you've got kids, if you got pets? Are you comfortable? You know, that if something happened, you'd be all right. You know, can you take breaks if you really want to learn something or join something? Can you do it? And it doesn't mean having the money, like, but it might mean like abundance can still be that you have access to it or you have help from other people so that you can fulfill what you'd like to do. And it doesn't always mean, oh, well, I have to do it right now, otherwise you're not abundant. No, It can still feel abundant even if you have a period of waiting, but you can do it. That's my values, but it might not be yours. But that's the line of questioning you're thinking about, I would say, or redefining what is abundance. Aquarius. The lust card or the strength card in other decks. So this is all about tapping into the source of your passion, the source of creation. Usually this card shows a woman taming a lion. And so, or sometimes it shows a woman controlling the lion too. So for me, this card has always very deeply been about your relationship to the wild side of yourself or to nature itself. It's all about, you know, like if the woman controls the lion, basically it's clamping down on the wild, free nature of that lion and controlling it and dampening it. It's saying passion must be kept under wraps, under control. It's dangerous. It's irresponsible. It's whatever you want to say. If the woman is taming or working with the lion, then she accepts the wildness of nature, and that sometimes things are spontaneous and free and crazy and chaotic, and sometimes that's all fine. That's all part of life, and that can be worked with. So it doesn't restrict. But this lady is riding the lion. She's just laying back and letting the lion lead. She trusts it. So this one has access to a higher level of passion and self-trust. She just lets it go. She lets herself do whatever she feels she needs. She lets herself be off the radar, break the rules in healthy ways, you know, but she is not afraid of her passionate nature. So you might be questioning things in and around what's all right as far as your level of what can you rebel against, how much can you express yourself, how much passion do you feel safe to let through you, how much chaos and magic do you feel okay with in life, you know, versus keeping things under wraps or under control or private or down the down low. You know, you might be questioning a lot about that right now. And Pisces. Excuse my yawn. So for Pisces, you have the Ace of Discs. Super practical. So you could be asking yourself a lot of questions about money. And again, like stability and even like, again, reliability, loyalty, friendship. This isn't like a love kind of card. This isn't like a big money kind of card. This is on like a more day-to-day level. So you might be sort of refining. Who do you trust? Who do you rely on? How much of yourself do you give to each of these scenarios or relationships? It's a very nice, calm, like grounded and balanced card, isn't it? You know, so again, you're likely to be revisiting your true beliefs around what you do for others, what others do for you, the balance of that. How much you trust people, how much they trust you. And you might be, you know, thinking also about finances as well. Not so much like what's worth what, but you might be questioning whether you should spend some money on something that you have been thinking about. Not a giant purchase, but it's not inconsequential either. It's so you might be sort of evaluating whether that purchase is worth making now, or worth what you're considering spending on it. It's not a very dramatic message for you this time. You're more sort of probably pretty clear already on a lot of these topics, and you're sort of refining the details of it now. Meaning, like, instead of wondering, oh, should I trust so and so, like all or nothing? No, it's more like, when I'm talking about my past, can I really talk to her, or is it best that I talk to my other friend when I'm in a difficult time about my past? Or instead of like, should I be loyal to this company I work for? Let's say, they've asked me to do extra work. Should I go in and do it because I'm loyal to the company? It's not all or nothing. It's more like refining. It means like, okay, when such and such a person asks me to do extra work, what are my where do my loyalties lie in terms of, okay, I'll give an extra couple hours this week, but I'm not giving them 10. Or if so and so asks me because they ask me respectfully, I'll do it for them. But if this person asks me because they're not respecting me when they do it, the answer is no. It's not a black or white type of evaluation you're doing. It's refinements with individual situations. It's quite an interesting message then. So I didn't bother plugging my website or Patreon or anything like that. It's all below if anybody would like a reading. And I hope that this philosophical type moon reading helped you this time. And I'm going to be going live on the full moon on the Saturday. And I will give a talk related to the theme, which I'm going to mull over now for a couple days. And then there will be a chance, if you join my Patreon membership, then you can join us live for the Zoom, where you'll get to participate and share in a conversation. And we'll do a few intuitive readings as well for whatever's coming up this full moon. So if you would like to join me for that, just please join my Patreon page below in the membership for the Vibes community. So we'll see you next moon cycle.